it's really nice to be here speaking in Lyon because iExec is an infrastructure project. We'll learn a bit more about that today. Based on Ethereum, we have a token. And yeah, I'm on the communication and community strategy now at iExec, so less of a dev profile. But yeah, happy to be speaking to you, Jeremy.
Yeah, likewise. So the ICO of iExec was in 2017.
Yeah, that's right.
So when did you arrive at iExec? At the beginning or after?
March 2018, yeah. So it was after the first big bull run. So.
Okay, so you did a long journey there.
Yeah. And as I said, the crypto industry is feels like 1 month is equivalent for 1 year in a traditional industry.
So decades for iExec.
Yeah. So even how we present ourselves is very different from what we did back after the ICO boom of 2017. So yeah.
Okay, so let's deep dive in iExec. Can you explain how iExec introduced themselves in 2017? Because it's very interesting to know how the value proposition has evolved since. So first, what was iExec at the beginning?
Yeah, so a little bit of context. In 2017, there was a crazy ICO boom. I remember a token called DentaCoin. It was the crypto money for the industry of the dental industry. And I think iExec had some good timing at this stage. And how did we introduce ourselves in the white paper that kind of was the basis for the ICO? A little bit of history. iExec was started by two computer scientists who are researchers, and they were doing decentralized or a type of distributed cloud computing where they were running projects where people could connect their machines and have a distributed, decentralized method of computing power. But at that time, it was just based on volunteers, other universities, and our CEO, who was one of the founders, was really into Ethereum, and he said, look, here is the perfect solution to incentivize people. And yeah, we presented the white paper as the iExec, the decentralized cloud computing. Okay,
can you explain to everyone what is, in a very simple words, what is cloud computing and why is it interesting to decentralize it compared to Google and Amazon and the biggest competitors in the centralized way?
Yeah, so first, cloud computing, when we're talking about cloud computing, especially in iExec's case, where that's not cloud storage, so it's slightly different. And decentralized cloud computing, of course, is, as I said, a distributed network of machines. Back in the day when we released our white paper, the kind of narrative was, as I said, it was quite a good timing because there was the whole mining boom at that time. Before that, even with your personal computer, you could mine Ethereum and it would actually be quite rentable. And then it kind of got moved on to big data centers, and it wasn't really possible for individuals to participate. So we presented iExec as, look, maybe you have a gaming computer. It's a very powerful machine that you're not using all the time. Well, look, you can come and connect to a distributed network like iExec and earn our native tokens in return. So yeah, blockchain and governance, we've heard a lot about that today, so you can imagine how that works with a token as an incentivization.
Okay, and what about the problems that you wanted to solve compared to the centralized solutions?
So there is, obviously, we all know about the no central point of governance. That means that you can have more resilience. So if one of the nodes goes down, it's the same as Bitcoin or Ethereum. The whole network doesn't go down, so you're not relying on that single source. There's also like no vendor lock-in. So if you're getting your resources from Google or Amazon Web Services, you're really locked into a contract with them. Whereas on a decentralized system, you can move in and out and choose which offer best fits you. And there's also a dynamic price mechanism where it's imagine like a crypto exchange where there's an order book, and if you imagine computing resources like that is completely dynamic and decided by the providers and by the demand. So it's another model like that for dynamic pricing.
Okay, so years passed, and can you explain how the value proposition evolved since 2017, and how, because you're in charge of the communication and the community part, so how did you manage the community during all these years, and maybe by explaining, educating, and retaining people with this maybe evolution of the value proposition, the initial one?
Well, I'll start by just giving our kind of value proposition for today, which is the iExec kind of imagines a world where digital assets in general, so not just computing power, are owned, protected, and monetized by their rightful owners. So what we realized over time when we were doing these distributed computing networks, that you might be running a piece of code or data on someone else's machine, so potentially an untrusted machine. And we did a partnership with Intel, integrating a technology called confidential computing, which allows data to be run in an isolated environment. So I could run a piece of code on your machine, and although you would be able to process it and use it, you wouldn't be able to see the data, or it would never be revealed. So that made us realize that our value proposition can go a lot further than just decentralized access to computing power, and it's really more about privacy, who's controlling your data, and how they're using it, and what they're using it for. So today, I'll give the value proposition of iExec is iExec creates tools, developer tools, to build Web3 apps that prioritize data ownership, privacy, and monetization. So not just computing power when I talk about digital assets and privacy. Yes, computing power, but also data. So that can be anything from personal data, like an email address, or even a piece of code, or even content like a video.
Okay.
So it's more about privacy than just computing power now.
Okay, very clear. So what about the community during all these years? The bear market, the bull run of 2020 and 2021, the bear market after, and how do you manage to explain, educate, and maintain the community with all these evolutions?
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. It's actually the second bear market that iExec has gone through, and you'll know yourself that it's sometimes, I don't know if you've also experienced in times where the market is less exciting.
Twice.
Your engagement is almost correlated with the trading volume or market cap or total market cap. So sometimes it's easy to lose the passion or anything like that. But from my personal experience, it's about keeping that engagement there. So we put a lot of emphasis on community participation. During the last bear market, let's call it, where there was way less people in our Telegram. I mean, think about yourself. There was weeks where there was nothing happening, so I wouldn't even open up crypto Twitter or Telegram groups. But it was important to keep the active and most passionate community members really still engaged. So I talk about the community participation. We did an airdrop for a utility NFT, which allowed, even if they weren't trading or interested in the price movement, they were able to actively engage. We did an airdrop, actually, even some of the core community members that I've known from the beginning. I just prioritized them in the airdrop, and the rest was kind of a lucky draw. And that participation, they were able to contribute their computing resources. Sorry
to interrupt. It's interesting because the narrative has evolved, and so we have the airdrop season that Marvin just spoke about. Were you tempted to surf on this narrative to try to have some engagement in your community, or you were focused on your value proposition and the tech and the development and so on?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting with the surfing the narratives. I think it's obviously something that every blockchain project can do or should do, but be careful about it, because if we've found ourselves in the cases as iExec being an infrastructure project. We can very easily attach the label of deep in AI, real-world assets, SoFi, everything can apply, and it's about choosing one narrative and running with it. So yeah, deep in is really a narrative that...
Yeah, it's about deep in. We can say that you were about deep in before deep in.
Yeah, so deep in decentralized physical infrastructure networks is basically what I was talking about before, whether it be storage or decentralized computing power or servers. It's all about monetizing that physical infrastructure, and yeah, exactly. iExec was doing that before the deep in trend was existing. That's actually something important about the bear market and riding the trend. It's anticipating the trend. So during the bear market, you've got to be ready for the next trend. I mean, you can't just pick it up as soon as it becomes trendy. You need to have done the groundwork before.
So you consider you were not on the perfect time to market in 2017, maybe it was too early?
Exactly. Yeah, but when Deep In came out, we were straight away referenced by Messari. I think we were like maybe the top 30 Deep In projects in terms of market cap now. So the stuff you're doing before it's hot and trendy is really important. But it's about choosing one and sticking to it, because you can never be the experts or the ones that know everything about everything. So.
Okay, let's speak about artificial intelligence. So how the development of this for 1 year and a half for the retail, does it change your vision of the ecosystem? Because you need computing for the artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. So how do you, what's your approach about this for a year or 1 year and a half?
Well, we see the question getting asked a lot about what can blockchain and AI, how can it help business? But I think the real question is, what can blockchain actually do for AI? Because we're all very aware about how AI can help us in our work, especially in recent years, how AI might replace our work even. So we already know that what AI is, how AI is transformative, but it's an interesting subject that I've had some interesting some conversations with our research lead on AI, because talking of narratives, our community is always asking, look, you're deep in, what can you do for AI? You need to speak about use cases, let us know. So I'm kind of annoying our research team all the time, what can we talk about, what can we talk about? And it's very interesting that the crossover of blockchain and AI is actually very, very small. So he showed me a Venn diagram where you have the two circles and you have the similarity in between. It's very, very small about what Web3 or blockchain can do for AI, but there's the obvious things, which are the whole idea of deep in and incentivizing participation. AI needs lots of data, and there's actually not enough data available to train AI. That's one of the big issues. So, of course, the governance, the traceability, and the incentivization is important. And the confidential computing side, which we're working on, again, being able to run data on a machine without actually being able to see it. Confidential computing has become a huge part of what iExec's value is in deep in and AI. So I would be able to train an AI model with my data, knowing that my data is never actually revealed. And that's the beauty of confidential computing. I could talk about that for a long time, but it would go really technical layers. So, yeah. Okay.
We see that we have a lot of infrastructure, layer 1, layer 2, app chains, subnet, sovereign chains, and so on. So basically, at the beginning, you were Ethereum.
That's right.
Only. Yeah. What's your position and maybe your project about the interoperability? And today your token is issued on Ethereum.
It's in ERC20, yeah, and that still exists today. But scaling, again, in 2016, when Vitalik would talk, he's saying scaling is coming, it's going to become much cheaper, it's going to become much more efficient. And iExec was built at a time where the gas fees were nothing. And so if you imagine we had a marketplace for computing power. So I want to sell my computing power. There's an order placed on the market. And even just for one execution, for a task execution, there's maybe 5 Ethereum transaction signatures, which means at that time, in order to buy one computing task or sell one computing task, would be 6 transactions. It would be like $100 maybe in Ethereum fees. So it wasn't really designed with scaling in mind, just because at the time we didn't have to worry about that. And since a scaling solution, we actually built out our own sidechain, which is bridged with the contract and the token on Ethereum. That's our solution at the moment, is having our own sidechain, which is sponsored by iExec at the moment, so we're paying the fees. Yeah, that's.
And so you don't have any project with any layer 2 or any other L1?
Well, the problem is that is the interoperability. So although we have a sidechain and we've decentralized it among partners, some of the community as well, which was really nice to have them participate in iExec as a network as node validators for our own chain. But it means that when builders come to iExec, they kind of need to build on our sidechain, and it's kind of limiting. And so we're going to be taking some decisions for things like SoFi. We really need to be interoperable with other chains. So everything's open for other L2s, but that's just the approach that we're taking at the moment is the iExec sidechain, which is bridged one-to-one. It doesn't change anything for RLC holders, because one RLC is always equal to one of the sidechain RLCs.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions. First, about the price of the token. Let's go back to the community. Mm-hmm. You went through a 2-bear.
Moon.
Sorry?
When Moon? Is that the question?
Yeah. No. I'll try to be a little more nuanced. No, so you've been through 2 bear markets, and so of course the price of the token is something that all the community members are interested on. So you, as a community leader, we can say, how do you manage their expectation, their maybe discontent, or maybe their happiness when things are going well? So how do you step back when you have to, and explain, and maybe to educate the community about the price of the token during all these years?
Yeah, it's an interesting question to ask me, because of course the devs that are building in iExec, they really don't need to think about the price of the token.
You're in front.
Of course, the market cap ranking is extremely important because it's just pure visibility. But in my job, I started as a community manager in the trenches in Discord and Telegram, so you really feel like the spokesperson a little bit for the company, because when the token's not doing well, it's why? When the token's doing well,
why? When?
It's not doing as well as this other project.
And all the community members maybe have the great idea.
Yeah.
The thing that will make things move.
Of course. Everyone is a marketing manager in the community. Everyone has their strategy. I think the important part is, well, it's actually interesting because it's changed over time. Back in 2017, there was no utility, there was no use cases. It was only marketing and communication. Was it XRP that posted a photo with the CEO of McDonald's and the price pump because it was a partnership with McDonald's? That's not the case anymore. These kind of collaborations or partnerships.
Even when Musk speaks about Doge, the token doesn't moon like before.
Exactly. It's like, what is Doge used for now? So it's really about showing projects that are using iExec, how that affects the circulation of RLC. So it's really, we're finally at a time where we are seeing use cases, and that's what to talk about. There was a time where it would be name drop someone that you're in an incubator with, and the project would perform. But their investors or speculators.
Is it hard sometimes? on the socials, to be in front of many people asking for more, for when, for where?
Honestly, it's that's the hardest part about the bear market, which is why the community communication is important. I feel like we work hard in communication and community more in the bear market, because that's when all eyes are on, okay, what are you building? How are you going to get us ready for the next wave? But when everyone's when the market's in more positive action, everyone's happy. So it's almost like it becomes a lot easier.
So what about the next month for 2025? What are the plans for iExec to not maybe just to serve, but to maybe innovate and create some narrative that will be interesting for the project?
Well, the whole research side for AI is super interesting, but you said a couple of months. That's another point. Everything blockchain and AI is still very much in a research phase, which means it's research papers, it's hypothesis, it's not going to be actionable. For iExec in the next couple of months, we're working on a product called the Privacy Pass. We had the Worker Pass, which was an NFT to monetize your computing power. Now we have the Privacy Pass, which is to monetize your data being your email address. So basically you can protect your email address on iExec, which means it becomes a protected data, which can be used by marketers or other companies to contact you. But why is it called the Privacy Pass? Is because your privacy is always preserved. So they're using your email address without actually being able to see or have access to your email address itself. So it's being processed again within that confidential computing environment, which is isolated, and you can earn in exchange for that. So you're monetizing each time they use your data, they need to pay in RLC tokens, because they can't just take your email address and reuse it and reuse it. That's the Privacy Pass, and we've got a few partners who are paying to send marketing campaigns, so it's kind of like a read to earn kind of thing, but privacy preserving as well. So you're not handing over your email address, and it's never associated with your Ethereum address, which is the big no-no.
Before we close the interview, do you have maybe can you share an anecdote or a situation, maybe the worst or the best, I don't know, something that you would like to share with us, something that happened during these last 7 years?
Yeah, it's not necessarily related to iExec, but what I just talked about, the Privacy Pass, I can maybe relate it to that, was I was part of a big data leak, which had my public address, public wallet address, my home address, my phone number, and my email address, all associated in it. So
it was through Ledger?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I didn't want to say the name, but I think we're all aware of that. I had one friend.
It was through Shopify. Yeah. It was. It was not related directly to Ledger, as I remember.
And I had one friend that was like, he managed his funds a little bit more than me, so he was pretty up in crypto, and he was kind of worried for his own home address, that people might come. But that's the question of privacy and ownership, where it comes back into play. If your email is leaked, do you really own it anymore? I would say you don't. And so that confidential computing, being able to truly own your email address.
You're smart. You found the anecdote related to the solution.
Someone, through the iExec Privacy Pass, for example, because your email address is encrypted during processing, which is really what's important in confidential computing while it's being used, the data, then you can maintain complete control over the privacy and the monetization of it. Because it's like, I'm not going to give you my email address, I'm going to make you pay each time to use it, and that's only possible through blockchain and confidential computing, which is a lot more interesting than just where we started on decentralized computing power. It's really being able to decentralize the whole digital economy and everything you own.
Thank you very much, Blair. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks a lot.